Hey, Brood Mamas, welcome back to Behind Her Coffee Stories of Motherhood. And if you're new here, Brood Mamas is what we call this little community of mothers who gather here each week. I'm your host, the unknown mom, just a mom with a cup of coffee and a story to tell. This is where we talk about the real parts of motherhood, the overstimulated parts, the messy middles, the moments that don't photograph well, the decisions that look confusing from the outside, but feel completely right in your heart. This is the space where we say the quiet things out loud. So, if these stories resonate with you, make sure you follow the podcast on whatever app you're listening on. Just tap the follow button so you don't miss what's next. And today's story is called Holding My Breath. But before we get into that story, here's what we're getting into today. A toddler bed update and pretty much what's going on in my life as a toddler mom. A hot mess confession about the hour-long drive I didn't think I really needed to take. And the fact that I needed to be pushed to go for that hour, even though I was clearly running on empty. A teacher tip you can try this week. And then the part of motherhood no one really prepares you for. The quiet depletion. The guilt of needing space. The feeling of loving your life and still needing air. So, pour yourself a cup of coffee, take a deep breath, and let's begin.
Watching them grow up too fast. These tiny moments always last. Little sleepy sighs and sleepy smiles, making all these early mornings worthwhile. Behind her coffee, stories of motherhood.
All right, it's time for
Toddler time.
All right, toddler bed update. Okay, so we are at the end of that tunnel. There is a bright light there. My kid sleeps in her bed. She has fallen off at least once, but she sleeps in her bed. She walks over, gets in, and she stays there all night. She does try to wake up her sister, but her sister is kind of now used to it, so she just ignores her. And they get along, they sleep, they know whose bed is whose bed. And yeah, it's actually been very, very nice and very, very comforting. And I knew it wasn't going to take that long. But you know, when you're in the trenches, you're just like, I don't know when this is going to end. And we've come to the end. So I am going to say this to all the moms who are about to do the toddler bed transition. You got this. Breathe and come back and let us know how it's going, because I would love to hear kind of the ups and downs of it for you guys. But yeah, we are finally there. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is, being a toddler mom. I swear it's up and down all over the place. We are now getting into big, big feelings. And don't get me wrong, as adults, we can have big, big feelings. But kids, they don't know how to regulate that. And we can go from one extreme to the next to what I don't even know what's going on, right? Okay, let me give you an example. Mind you, we do watch movies in this house. We do, because sometimes we just need to survive, right? So I turn to my daughter and I say, what do you want to watch? Do you want to watch maybe Moana? And she goes, yeah, let's watch Moana. So I click on Moana and she goes, no, I don't want to watch Moana. And I'm like, but you just said you wanted to watch Moana. She says, I don't want to watch Moana. So I said, okay, what do you want to watch? So she's looking around. She goes, I want to watch Moana. Isn't that what we literally just talked about that? Like, that's exactly what you said you wanted to do. Or another example of just the emotions. So we were heading out for a drive. And I had told my daughter that her father, my husband, was taking care of her stuffy. And she was like, cool. Because her stuffy is her baby. She calls it her baby. And it's funny because she calls me grandma for her baby. And so Daddy is taking care of the stuffy. She said, okay. And I don't know why I did this. I told her that Daddy was putting the stuffy to bed. Well, we get home. She runs up to see if her stuffy is in the bed, and he's not. So she's having a meltdown, like, oh my goodness, where is her stuffy? So I look down on the floor, and he's right there on the floor next to me. And I said, oh, he's right here. You guys, her heart was broken because Daddy didn't put her stuffy to bed. And my husband was clueless to what was going on. And she was so mad at him. And she was so sad. And she went up to him and she was like, you did not put my stuffy to bed. I have to watch though too, because I say things to kind of calm her down and then I forget later on. And I'm just like, oh, I could have saved myself the trouble from that one. This toddler life is definitely something I'm getting used to and I'm learning, especially now that we have two and the other one, the little one, she's a whole nother ballgame coming up. Yeah. Okay, it's time for
Hot mess mom.
all right. You know I am your hot mess mama. I have the hot mess bun. I'm always in, comfy, cozy clothes because I'm just a hot mess. I'm constantly cleaning, and I'm not gonna lie, we do have a little hot mess in the house because sometimes I'm just too tired to pick up. I'm too tired to fight with the kids to pick up their stuff, and I'm too tired to pick it up. And mind you, our house is not dirty, but it might be a tiny bit of a mess, like everybody else's house. Anyways, I was getting to the point of being overstimulated. My kids, anytime I sat on the floor or sit on the floor, they like to climb all over me. So it's like one of those where I just can't sit on the floor if I am just needing a little bit of space. But on last week, Thursday, I decided, you know what? I'm going to sit on the floor. No, not last week, Thursday, last week, Friday. I'm going to sit on the floor and they're climbing on me and I'm trying to enjoy, but I'm not. And I'm just feeling this like I just need space. Like I just need to breathe. I tell my kids, you know what? I'm going to go breathe because I'm trying to model, like if you're stimulated, if you're frustrated, you stop and you breathe it out. You remove yourself from the situation too, because you don't want to keep yourself in a situation that is overstimulating. And then it just keeps going and then you get to a boiling point. So I'm trying to teach my kids to walk away, take some time to yourself to kind of compose yourself and then come back. Did you see what I did there? I said, and then come back, because I feel like that's the key, not to go and avoid, but to then come back and deal with the situation. So I told my oldest, I'm going to go and I'm going to walk. I'm going to go breathe and walk. So she's looking at me, trying to figure out what is going on. And here's the part that is a little hard. So I texted my husband. I typed in the text and I was telling him, I'm having a hard day, but then I deleted it. And then I thought, you know what, I'll text my best friend. So I texted my best friend and then I deleted it. I did a voice memo and then I deleted it. So there are so many times I could have reached out to someone, but I decided not to. And I decided not to kind of open up and talk to someone just to kind of get some stuff off my chest. That then overwhelmed me because then I made myself feel like I couldn't talk to anyone. So by the time my husband got home and that weekend, it was still sitting with me. And by Sunday, he was like, go take a drive, get some time by yourself, go take an hour, like go do you, go breathe. And in my head, I'm like, okay, I have dishes, I have cleaning, I have laundry, I have this, I have that. And he's like, go, like all of that will be here. Just go, you need it. And on the drive is when I realized the story that we're about to tell today. This metaphor of just we need this. We need this oxygen. We need this break. We need the breathing, the air. That's where that comes from. And I wanted to really give this background because I want moms to know you're not alone feeling this. I'm feeling it. And maybe you're like me, you try to reach out, but then you just say, you know what? No one needs to know. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm just bothering other people. When in reality, you're not. And there's people there that want to help and want to talk to you, and you're just not doing it. And just know I'm here and I'm learning too to kind of open up and say, okay, I need this help. And also remembering that even though we decided to choose this type of life, like I decided to be a stay-at-home mom, and my husband and I both planned it. So this was a choice. This was planned. And I'm still allowed to feel overwhelmed in this. Most people are overwhelmed in their own jobs and they take days off. They take time. Why do I feel like I can't do the same? Because this is a job that we're pretty much doing when you're a stay-at-home mom. It's time for your teacher tip. So I do want to do a little pause here and say my daughter is playing in the background. So if you hear her throughout this whole episode, I hope it's not too distracting, but I think she's adorable, so I didn't want her too far. But anyways, let's get back to this teacher tip. What I wanted to say was tweezers. That's the best tip I feel I can give you. And I'm not talking about the ones that you pluck your eyebrow hairs with. I'm talking about the ones you can get at the dollar store or any kind of dollar section. They're a little bit thicker, and you have the child practice picking things up and moving them to other places, playing with that. It builds the muscles in their hand. And if you notice when they're using the tweezers, they're using them in a pencil grip. And what is that great for? That's great for getting them ready for writing. So many times kids have not practiced that motion of holding a pencil, that when they get to kindergarten, they don't know what the heck is going on, and they use their whole fist to type of write and do whatever they're doing. So get tweezers, have them practice, and I swear they love kind of moving things around. You can have them sorting, picking things up, moving things here and about, and trust me, this will help with their pencil grip. So before we get into today's story, I want to introduce something new. Starting next week, I'll be sharing stories from the Brood Mamas, moments, reflections, or experiences from mothers in this community. Some will be written, and some may even be short audio clips from you. If you'd ever like your stories shared here, you can head over to Patreon, become a Brood Mama, and submit it there. And starting next week, we'll begin sharing them on the podcast. All right, now let's get into today's story. This week's story is a little bit different. It isn't about one specific mother. It isn't pulled from someone else's life. It's a metaphor, a picture that came to me during that hour-long drive I didn't think I needed, but absolutely did. And while I was driving, it clicked, because sometimes it's hard to explain how you're feeling. Sometimes the words don't land, but a picture does. This story is meant to make you pause, to really ask yourself, am I holding my breath? And maybe it's something you can share with someone you love. Not to blame, not to accuse, but simply to say, look, this is what it feels like. This is our story.
Mommy. Mommy.
There once was a woman and a man who had always dreamed of going on the adventure of a lifetime. They talked about it for years, the kind of life you build together, the kind you look back on and say, that was the life we wanted. And part of that life was scuba diving. Not just the two of them. They wanted to experience it with the people they love most. So they brought their children. They trained, they packed, they prepared. They talked about how beautiful it would be. And the day finally came when they all stepped onto the boat together. Masks ready, fins strapped on, air tank secured. The water stretched out in front of them, endless and sparkling. And when they jumped in, it was everything they imagined. The water was clear. Sunlight poured through the surface in golden beams. Fish moved like ribbons through the coral. The children's eyes widened behind the masks. They pointed at everything. Everything was new. Everything was exciting. The woman watched them and felt that quiet joy rise in her chest. This is why we came. This is the life we dreamed about. And then the first tug came. A small hand on her arm. One of the kids. Their air gauge was running low. Without hesitation, she unclipped her oxygen line and shared hers. Just for a moment. That's what you do, right? You make sure your child can breathe. The bubble steadied. The child smiled back behind her mask and swam off to keep exploring. The dive continued. More coral, more fish, more laughter underwater. Then another tug. Another child, another low gauge. Another time that she shared her air. Just a moment, just enough. But slowly, something began happening. She realized she hadn't taken a full breath in a while. Not one of those deep, filling breaths that expand your chest and steadies your body. Just small pulls, little sips of air, enough to keep going, but not enough to feel okay. And as the dive went on, she started doing the quiet mental math. How much air is left? How long until someone needs it again? She watched her family gliding through the water, her children spinning and laughing, pointing at fish, completely immersed in the wonders of it all. And for a moment, you might think, that seems selfish. But they aren't selfish. They don't know. All they know is that when they reach for air, mom has it. Mom always has it. They trust her lungs more than their own. Because that's what mothers do. They become the place everyone breathes from. And somewhere along the way, society started telling mothers something else too. That they don't need air. That they're built for this. That they're superhuman. That they can do it all. Hold everything, carry everything, breathe for everyone, and keep swimming. But even the strongest diver still needs oxygen. And the deeper the dive goes, the harder it becomes to pretend you don't. Her lungs were starting to ache. That tight feeling in her chest when you've been underwater for too long. The quiet voice inside saying, you need air. But every time she thought about swimming up to the surface, another thought stopped her. What if someone needs me the moment I leave? What if they miss something amazing while I'm gone? This was my idea. I wanted this life. So she stayed, taking smaller breaths, watching the shimmer of the surface above her, that thin line where the water meets the sky, where she knew there was air, real air, but she stayed. Because she loved them, because she didn't want to miss anything, because she would do anything to make sure they could keep exploring. But eventually something happened when you stay underwater for too long. Your body starts to feel light, a little dizzy, your head buzzing. She felt it, that faint, floating feeling creeping in, and still another small tug. Another child, another moment where someone needed her air. So she gave it. Because of course she did. Because this was the dive. This was the life she chose. She loved them more than she loved oxygen. But eventually she realized something. They didn't know she was running low. They assumed she had what she needed. And when she grew quiet, when she drifted slower, when she seemed distant behind the mask, it could look like she was disconnected, but she wasn't disconnected. She was trying to breathe. So finally she tapped her partner's shoulder, pointed upward, not in panic, just quietly, a signal that said, I need air. Not because she wanted to leave the dive, not because she didn't love the experience, but because she wanted to stay in it. And there is a difference between quitting the dive and rising for oxygen. So she swam towards the surface, breaking through the water, taking that first full breath, the kind that fills your lungs so completely you almost forget what it's like. For a moment, everything felt steady again. but the dive wasn't over. The kids were still talking, still excited, still asking for things. And when they climbed back into the boat, even while she was still catching her breath, they were already asking questions, talking about the fish they saw, pulling her into the next moment. And she smiled, still breathing deeply, still catching up, still tired, but still so grateful she was there because she wouldn't trade the dive for anything. You know, motherhood feels like that. You plan it, you dream about it, you choose it, and it's beautiful. But sometimes you've been holding your breath longer than anyone realizes. And when you get quiet, when you seem distant, when you look disconnected, it might not be you've stopped loving the dive. You might just need air. And needing air doesn't mean you want to leave. It means you want to keep going. And if you're listening right now and thinking, that's exactly how I feel, then maybe you're not disconnected. Maybe you've been holding your breath for too long. Before I close out today, I want to say something to the mother who feels like she's been holding her breath. Staying under is not strength. If your lungs are burning, that's not bravery, that's depletion. You are not selfish for needing air. Needing a breath does not mean you want out. It means you want to keep going. Your children don't need a mother who never surfaces. They need a mother who shows them what it looks like to care for herself too. You don't need a different life. You need oxygen. Stop looking at the sun and where the water and the sun meet and the air. Stop looking up and thinking, oh my God, I just need that. I know you're reaching for it, but you're holding your breath. You're underwater. Your chest is so tight because you're trying. You're trying so hard. All you need to do is breathe though. All you need is that air. If you need it, go get it. Your kids need you, and they don't need someone who is pretty much suffocating themselves. Go get that air. And I'm telling you this with love because I'm the mom who is learning to breathe too, to surface and get that air too. If today's episode resonated with you and you want to help this space grow, here's how you can. Make sure you're following the podcast where you listen so you don't miss what's next. If you'd like to support the show and go a little deeper, you can become a Brood Mama on Patreon. That's where I share the video version of the episode, behind the scenes moments, and even occasional car ride chats. If you enjoy the podcast, leaving a rating or a comment also helps more mothers find this space. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. So, thank you for being here. And to my brood mamas, thank you for helping this space breathe. Thanks for listening to Behind Her Coffee, Stories of Motherhood, where the stories are honest. The coffee, oh, it's necessary. And no mother has to hold her breath here.
Behind her coffee, stories of motherhood.
A Coffee with Carmen production.